Now, today marks 3 years since the passing of Prince Philip, who at the age of 99 became the longest-serving royal consort in world history.
Well, it's been a turbulent time for the monarchy ever since, seeing the passing of Queen Elizabeth, the ongoing rift between Princes Harry and William, and the health concerns of King Charles and Princess Catherine.
Well, joining us now is the royal author Hugo Vickers. Hugo, things have changed a lot, clearly, in the 3 years since Prince Philip passed away.
Well, they certainly have. There was this great stability, I think, when the Queen and Prince Philip were together in Windsor Castle, because, as you remember, that was lockdown still. And they'd had this sort of reassuring presence which had gone through all our lives. And when he went, this was the first indication it wasn't going to last forever. And although the Queen rallied and sort of kept going for a while, it wasn't terribly long before her health collapsed. And as you know, she died in September 2022. So we've actually gone through a lot, and everything has changed, the whole sort of dynamic of the royal family. And then just, of course, as you pointed out, the king was getting into his stride and sort of enjoying being head of state and sort of making his contribution and the coronation and everything. Suddenly, he's disappeared from public view by and large, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, is also ill. So it is very, very different, and it's quite hard to get to terms with it all, to be quite honest.
And Hugo, what do you make of the public's attitude towards Camilla? Now very much, it would appear, accepted as Queen. It still seems quite bizarre to say Queen Camilla, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you assess the difference in public opinion before they got married and now 19 years into their marriage?
Well, I was there the day they got married, and I was present at the service of blessing in St. George's Chapel. And it was interesting that right up until the very day she married, she was kind of treated as the hated mistress, the other woman, the evil influence, etc. And then the moment that he married her, it was sort of, whoops, suddenly she's the supportive wife. And I think you'll agree with me that ever since then, she's been absolutely splendid. And in the recent weeks, when the king has been less than visible, she has really been the front runner of the monarchy, the public face of the monarchy, even distributing Maundy money, which no queen consort has ever done before, just before Easter. And holding the fort in the same way, fun enough, that the Queen Mother did when King George VI was ill between 1948 and 1952. So I think, I think the public actually have completely taken her to their hearts and seen that she's been incredibly supportive of him and a very good influence and done an incredibly good job. It can't have been easy for her. It can't have been what she was expecting.
Hugo, it is fascinating and some would say perhaps ironic turn of events that someone like Camilla, who was, of course, a figure involved in so much of the instability of the monarchy, so much of the tumult for such a long time, is now actually a figure of real stability within the monarchy, and no more so than in the last few weeks, as you correctly point out. I wonder what the future is for her, because obviously she'll be queen for hopefully a long time to come, and she'll be someone who we take to our hearts even more so, I would imagine, especially if the king is, well, hopefully he'll get back very soon, but at the to full public duties. But what she's doing at the moment is remarkable.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that, I always thought that people who say about the Queen Mother that they loved her as a sort of, chiffon-clad sort of granny figure. But actually, the real reason they loved the Queen Mother was because she had been incredibly supportive during the war. She'd really, looking the East End in the face and all that going around and all the things, it was earned. And I think in the same way, Queen Camilla is earning the affection and respect of the British public by the stalwart way in which she's doing her duties. And so, yes, well, let's hope that the king does come out and about more. Bound to take time, these things always do. I did see him on Easter Day, and he looked very animated and very alert. And as you know, we're seeing the pictures now, he went over and chatted to the crowd, and that was all really reassuring. But, it's going to take a while. And so she will be really with Prince William, of course, the public face of the monarchy.
And Hugo, do you think over the past 19 years that nuclear family has become far more relatable? at the end of the day, they are a blended family. They're not immune from having rifts between siblings or even struggling with cancer diagnoses and being quite open and frank about that. Do you think that the British public see in the royal family, although huge differences in wealth and the amount of land that they own, I accept that, but actually that they are more human beings and they're far more relatable?
I suppose so. I mean, certainly been plenty of sibling rivalry over the decades and centuries in the past. And of course, the Queen and Prince Philip did things in their particular way. And the great advantage of a constitutional monarchy, which is done by heredity, that the one succeeds the other, is that each king or queen, puts their own stamp on things. They do things in a different way. I mean, you saw that actually from the moment that the Queen died, when King Charles was sort of shaking hands with the crowd and walking into Buckingham Palace, and very much, just to sort of putting a new slant on the whole thing. So whether that makes them more approachable, yes, I suppose it does. I remember thinking when Prince William was picking up Prince George from the hospital when he was born in 2013, there he was, with an open shirt and managing the baby carriage into the back of the car and driving off himself, whereas his father had been a man in a tie and a jacket and with a chauffeur. So things do change. So I guess each generation has to appeal to the new generation in a different way. So in that sense, I completely agree with you.
Things do change, of course, but as we look back today, 3 years on since Prince Philip's death, we were all in lockdown, of course. We remember that iconic picture of the Queen sitting alone as well. What are your memories of Prince Philip, Hugo, and how do you think he'll be remembered?
Well, I was very lucky because I wrote a biography of his mother, which was authorized by him. So I worked with him and indeed his office for several years and got to know him. And I thought he was remarkable. I thought he was completely straightforward in everything that he did. He loved an argument because, and you had to stand up to him, because if you just agree with everybody, I've rather been agreeing with you, I'm afraid. Perhaps I should have been arguing with you, but by arguing, you come to a consensus of opinion, and that's what he did. And he could be quite abrupt sometimes, and he would question and challenge everything that came along. He wrestled with all the problems, but he was so efficient and so sort of organized. And if he took on a project, he would support it all the way through. When it was over, he would look back and see how it had gone, but he would be on supporting a new initiative. And I think that was what was really interesting about him. I think that, his impatience, which was definitely there, was because he realized that even if you live to be nearly 100 years old, you have so little time to get it all done, and you just want to get on with it.
Unfortunately, speaking of so little time, Hugo, we have actually run out of time. Thank you so much, Royal Biographer Hugo Vickers, and thank you to Peter Cardwell, who's been my strength and stay this morning.
Well, thank you very much indeed.